So this is the flyer we put out to invite you all to come. Uh, so Saturday, I think the 17th is on Saturday. Saturday will be Marcus Garvey's birthday. We always recognize him on his birthday. And this is Muta here. And I thought this was interesting that I would include this in our discussion.
Yes. You know, recently we had the opportunity to go to school up at Mona. And when my time come to talk, I didn't really want to address the teachers them rather than the students. Because everybody has said they pick them this and they pick them that. I say I want to address the teachers. So my question to the teachers was, what was the name of Marcus Garvey organization? To my surprise and shock, all of the teachers them, barring none, went into them iPhone to find out the answer. That me have to shout and I said, no, that's not so we work it. You mean say not one teacher inside us all know what the Marcus Garvey organization the name? You still we did I say we want Marcus Garvey be taught in schools. How can you teach Marcus Garvey in school when you don't have no teacher to teach it in the school? And them not going to call we for go teach it. No. The UNIA is Marcus Garvey organization, Universal Negro Improvement Association, was started by Marcus Garvey and his first wife, Amy Ashford Garvey. When Marcus Garvey divorced, he had a second wife named Amy Jakes Garvey. So it's two Amy. Amy Ashford Garvey, his first wife, which was the one who helped him to start the organization. And the second one, Amy Jakes Garvey, she was the one who put together the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey. If you're going around to Mountain View, you see a road named Jakes Road. All around there was our family land. Now Marcus Garvey founded the first political party in Jamaica. Now a whole heap of ones don't know that. Because most of the youth them, or most of the people them who hear talk about Marcus Garvey, say the only thing them know was that Marcus Garvey born in a St. Anne and him go to America. But just basic thinking, basic knowing about Marcus Garvey, most of them don't know. And to see that Marcus Garvey is the first national hero, and he has done more for black people than any other black man ever walked the face of the earth. Marcus Garvey set up a party named the People's Political Party in Jamaica. And him go to jail too. Manly helped imprison him inside a Spanish Town prison. Marcus Garvey also went to America and there him do most of him work in Harlem, where him started a shipping line. His intention was to send people, goods and services, to Africa. But he was sidewinded by a man named Edgar J. Hoover, who was the head of the FBI at the time, who was hell-bent on getting rid of Garvey because he recognized that Garvey was having too much power in America as a little Jamaican country boy who left Jamaica and come in America and start to form organization that drew thousands of people. As a matter of fact, when Marcus Garvey talked in a Madison Square Garden, people couldn't hold in there. This little man from Jamaica. So the first time a black man going to enter the Federal Bureau of Investigation, he was placed there by Edgar Hoover to really find something to charge Marcus Garvey for. And what they found was that they claimed that Marcus Garvey was collecting money through the post under false pretense. And them set up man in the organization that him have, the UNIA, to falsely claim that there was no shipping line and the ship them can't work when it's them sabotage the whole shipping thing. So Marcus Garvey was jailed in prison in Atlanta. And then 5 years after, he was sent back to Jamaica, right at Victoria Pier, where them call Victoria Pier, the boat land, and bring him on here, so.
I just love to hear Muta speak.
Yeah. Breaks it down.
Mo, he doesn't wear shoes, right?
Right. He doesn't wear any shoe. Yeah. Muta doesn't wear shoes.
He used to not wear shoes till he went to New York City. He started wearing shoes after that.
I'm telling you, yeah.
And that might do it.
Yeah, that will do it.
Yeah. But you know what? Muta is very serious. I mean, if you ever did you play behind him, Keedy?
I didn't play behind him, but I have two Muta Baruka stories I'll tell real quickly. One, I was rather popular writing as the Conscious Rasta, and my battery might be dropping off my microphone. But I was in Detroit, and I went to a bookstore to see if I could maybe get some of the local books on the local shelves. And as I walked in, I saw Muta Baruka and another one of the what they call them, Baba Shango brothers was with him. Mm-hmm. And I walked up and I said, "Greetings, Brother Muta Baruka." And I went to introduce myself, and he and the other brother looked at each other, and then they looked at me and say, "Man, the Conscious Rasta that." And they went through a ritual. They turned 360 3 times in a circle and then bowed. And I'm saying, wait a minute, we got this backwards. You guys are my heroes. And they're excited to meet me. And so that was our first meeting. In the second meeting, we spent a weekend together at Oyotunji African Village. They were having their Shango Arts Festival. And he and I were both keynotes that weekend and got a chance to spend time with him, Queen Quet, and of course, our late Baba, his name escapes me because my battery's about to die. But Muta Baruka, I never played behind him, but I.
Your voice went out just now.
Maybe his battery is gone.
Look like, yeah.
That's a great story, Keedy.
That is. I never met Muta, but I've seen him a lot of times. You know, in like clubs and in arenas. I've seen him.
Well, I had a brief encounter with Muta at Montego Bay doing a Sunsplash, and he had a booth there. He had performed. And then he also had a booth selling T-shirts and paraphernalia, and I think he had some books too. And he was a very gracious brother when I met him. Very gracious. I didn't spend a lot of time with him, but the few moments that I spent with him, he was very gracious.
Yeah, he seems like a really cool person. All right, so could you understand him? Did you guys get that? What he was saying? You know, I went to a school in Jamaica and I asked people, did they know what Marcus Garvey's organization was? And nobody could tell me. Everybody picked up their iPhone. Ooh.
Yeah.
So it's catching.
That's unfortunate.
It's not only in the States, you know, it's here as well. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, his organization. Thank you, Bill. Bill, quickest hands. He must type like, I don't know, 60 or 70 words a minute. He put in the he put in some information about the UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement Association. And keep in mind, in those days, the teens and 20s, the word Negro was a revolutionary word. It was like saying Pan-Africanist, you know, because back then people wanted to be colored. And yeah, that's bad. All right, so let's go. Let's keep going. Let's see. Yeah. So these are, I would suggest these two books. These are really good. And this is the version I have, Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. And but you know, if you search for it now, it's different colors, but that title, Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, edited by Amy Jacques Garvey. And also, and we're going to look at this brother here, Brother Robert Hill. He's a tenured professor at UCLA. He has the Marcus Garvey Papers, and he wrote a 10-volume work on the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, and a summary book here, Marcus Garvey, Life and Lessons, Centennial Companion to the Marcus Garvey and Universal Improvement Association Papers. So really good brother. And actually he came and spoke here in Sacramento. I got a chance to meet him. Spoke at McClatchy High School.
And don't forget the phenomenal book, Race First by Dr. Tony Martin, praise be his eternal name. And just to clarify, Robert Hill's collection were edited collection of the papers as opposed to him writing the volumes himself.
Yeah, that's thank you. Yeah, that's right. But he had the Marx, but you know, he was the most Irish person, Professor Robert Hill. So these are so this is his book. It was written in 23. There he is. There she is. And here's Garvey family. You know, Sister Nikichi spoke today. She was on a radio program in DC, and she actually talked to Marcus Garvey Jr. She was interviewing him. Yeah. I kept saying I was going to send her a flyer so maybe she could join us, but I never did. Anyway, she's born on Kuumba Day, and she was Garvey's spouse from 22 to 1940. And this quote, "The baby doll type of woman is a thing of the past. The doll baby type of woman is the thing of the past. And the wide awake woman is forging ahead, prepared for all emergencies, ready to answer any call, even if it be to face the cannons on the battlefield."
Wow.
Yeah.
Some strong words there.
Right. And then, "Mr. Black Man, watch your step. Ethiopia's queens will rise again, and her Amazons protect her shores and peoples. Strengthen your shaking knees and move forward, or we will displace you and lead on to victory and to glory." Wow.
Yeah.
"Be not discouraged, Black women of the world. Push forward regardless of the lack of appreciation shown you." So that's you know, not enough is said about her. You know, we always know about the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, but really should have a day set aside, maybe that December 31st day, to just talk about her.
She seemed to be as strong as Garvey was in their conviction of black people working together and lifting themselves up.
No question. Yeah. Yeah. So what is the UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement Association, primarily in the United States, organized by Marcus Garvey, dedicated to racial pride, economic self-sufficiency, and the formation of an independent Black nation in Africa. Though Garvey had founded the UNIA in Jamaica in 1914, its main influence was felt in the principal urban Black neighborhoods of the U.S. North after his arrival in Harlem, New York, 1916. What was he coming to? Anybody know why did he come to the United States? Who was he coming to meet? Go ahead, Kitty.
He came under the influence of the esteemed Booker T.
T.
Washington.
Washington. That's right.
That's
Right.
right.
He was coming to meet Booker T. Washington. That's right.
And I believe Booker T died before he got a chance
He
to
did. That's right. He died. He died like a year to 6 months before he got here.
And his death in 1915 was under very suspicious circumstances.
Is that right? I never knew that. Is that right?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. It's quite likely that he was poisoned to death.
Oh man.
Yeah, I heard that.
Damani put his thumb up. You heard that too, huh, Damani? Wow. Wow. I never heard that. That's
Yeah, I had always heard it was a stroke or a heart attack, but certainly poison
Yes.
wouldn't be out of the question.
Yes, I heard the
You
same
know-
thing. Read it in that. I think Booker T's autobiography. Not Booker. Yeah, Booker T's Washington's. Yeah, somewhere I heard it. Yeah, I heard about he was poisoned.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There were people that back during those times, just as it is today, each organization or each leader has an idea of how we can free ourselves. And unfortunately, we don't see necessarily the cooperation. So some people felt that Booker T. Washington was too menial. If I could, that we needed to, we don't need to go his way. We should be more accommodation, And then when Garvey came in, it just, a lot of people, the leaders at that time weren't ready for Garvey either.
But Booker T he was a brilliant man because he had the idea of trying to get up all of the land. His whole focus was, let's get this land, let's do this land. And that's the route he was taking, even though he had ties in Africa as well. But I thought his idea was very brilliant, not because I went to Tuskegee, but because that's what his thought process was about, gathering up land. Just gathering this land. Let's get this land. Let's do agriculture. Let's feed ourselves. I think his whole thing was, let's be self-sufficient.
Yes. Yes. Very, very, very excellent observation. Go ahead, Bill. Minister Bill.
My central takeaway from Booker T is that he was at least one of our preeminent teachers, that in fact, he really excelled at teaching and structuring the whole process for people to learn. When he didn't have a lot of resources to teach agriculture, he came up with a mobile school. He took the education out to farmers in Alabama, and he focused again on the things people most needed: food, housing, the real fundamentals that otherwise hold people back.
Yes.
I always saw Booker T as being very practical and pragmatic. He stepped into a void of organizing these recently freed ex-enslaved people into an ability to work together with what they mostly knew, understanding they didn't have a lot of time. You're enslaved one day, and the next day you're free, but you don't have good reading skills or educations to do certain things for yourself. And so Booker T began to focus on agricultural things that the ex-enslaved had some familiarity with, things that they didn't have to spend 8, 9, 10 years in school trying to learn because they had to survive right now. And I think that's his greatest attribute right here. I thought he took a bum rap and a lot of the criticism that came his way, and that you know people romantically somehow or another thought that black people were just gonna leapfrog right back into the society and steamroll ahead. No, there was no social services, and still the environment was very hostile. So I saw his whole approach as being very practical.
Yes, go ahead, Minister Bill.
And in addition, he understood that many folks just coming out of slavery did have skills. And he sought to put those to use to leverage them, refine them, connect them in ways that they had been blocked from by being blocked from formal education. But I'm actually also sort of unclear about sort of personal guess that in fact what we saw in Tulsa may have been his work away from Tuskegee, understanding that he may have predicted the response to Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know enough to know that that's actually true. That's just what it looks like.
Yeah.
This is why we have this. I see you, Keith. This is why we have these sessions, so I can learn. You guys are teaching me. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah. The Tulsa example model of what really Booker T. Washington pioneered in Macon County, Alabama, of people gathering their demographics, using the lay of the land and the resources of the land to create sustainable sovereign development, is a wonderful example of Tuskegee. He also championed, as he traveled around the South, he championed moving to not only the Greenwood district of Tulsa, but I think in particular his favorite was the example of Boley, Oklahoma, the black town there.
Right.
And if we have not studied Boley, Oklahoma, I do think it merits our attention. And today, as we look at what can we learn and what can we do, standing on the shoulders of our great ancestors who built from Tuskegee, I myself see Tuskegee Institute as a very early edition of what I call permaculture campus. From building campus up from raw land, the first students built the bricks and learned the architecture to build the very same buildings that they lived in, studied in. They built their library and everything. It was a phenomenal experience of teaching people from the ground up self-sufficiency. So in so many ways, this triad, let's say, of Booker T. Washington, Marcus Messiah Garvey, Dr. George Washington Carver, and a number of other elements that were drawn into the circle. Ida Wells Barnett was a part of that circle, etc. We stand on the shoulders of giants. It's time for us to build likewise.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Go ahead, Bill.
One more time on Booker T. I'm also sort of speculating that he had, right at the turn of the century or just before the turn of the century, essentially invented the same learning model that Stanford now touts now, what they called P5BL approach, people, problem, process, product, and project-based learning. I put a couple links in the chat, but it looks very much like what he was doing in Tuskegee, not just teaching people the theory, but putting their hands on to let them fully understand how the theory works. And there's another link in the text, Booker T. Washington in Africa.com. There's a researcher, Tyreen Wright, up in New York City, who went back through his papers and basically concluded that the most popular biography of Booker T was actually a contracted hit on his reputation. That in fact, there's a guy named Harlan who wrote the biography, and that was essentially the start of Booker T as assimilationist, sellout, accommodationist, whatever. When in fact, she points out that he's very much the opposite. He was a Pan-Africanist doing diplomacy all over the planet. So I highly recommend the book. If you go to that website, I think Dr. Wright is selling it herself, but it's difficult to get through any other channel. And by the way, the book is not even 200 pages. It's like 100 and change.
What was the name of the book?
Booker T, the Pan-Africanist. And
okay, I got that book.
Oh, you have it? Yes.
I do.
Very good.
Yes.
Wow, you guys. Glad Brother Donnie could join us today. Glad you're with us, Brother Donnie. All right.
That's my brother. That's my brother.
Is that right?
Yes.
Welcome. Welcome.
Glad you could be with us today. All right. So I'm gonna keep on going. So yeah. So he came to the States, but his inspiration for coming was to meet Booker T. Washington. He had a strong appeal to poor blacks in urban ghettos, but mostly black leaders in the U.S. criticized him as an imposter, particularly after he announced in New York the founding of the Empire of Africa with himself as provisional president. When you read about the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, he says, where's the black man's king? Where's his men of big affairs? Where is his army? Where is his navy? And then he pledges, he says, I will help to create those. And in turn, and they would go back and forth. Booker T. Washington, okay, he apologized, years later, being in Ghana, and after having been brought before the House Un-American Committee, then he had a change of heart years later. But Garvey denounced the NAACP and many black leaders, asserting that they were only sought assimilation in white society. His leadership was cut short in 1923 when he was indicted and convicted of fraud in his handling of funds raised to establish the Black shipping line, Black Star shipping line. And in 1927, this was a political move. It helped President Coolidge, but President Coolidge in 1927 pardoned Garvey, but ordered him deported as an undesirable alien. So a lot going on. Go ahead.
One passage on his criticism of the NAACP, I believe, gives us some insight into the kind of ongoing conflict between Garvey and Du Bois.
Yeah.
Du Bois was a furious critic of Garvey, and I and I think that probably gave uh, uh, some fruit to the conflict between them, because Dubois, of course, was one of the early members of the NAACP, and so having Garvey criticize him, I can see where that could inflame a great deal of anger, and it's unfortunate because the two of them working together probably could accomplish much more. Our work today may not be as hard as it is, but it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
The boys and Booker T didn't get along either. I mean, they didn't
Right.
care for each other
Right.
either.
Right. Right. And another figure that Muta mentioned was J. Edgar Hoover. So J. Edgar Hoover goes all the way back to Garvey. You know, it wasn't only Malcolm and King. He went all the way back to Garvey.
Yeah.
So after he was deported, UNI never revived, although the organization did not transport a single person to Africa. Its influence reached multitudes on both sides of the Atlantic, and it proved to be a forerunner of Black nationalism, which emerged in the U.S. after World War II. The roots of Black nationalism can be traced to Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association of the 20s. Many adherents to Black nationalism assumed the eventual creation of a separate Black nation as an alternative to being assimilated by a predominantly white America. Black nationalists sought to maintain and promote their separate identity as people of Black ancestry, with such slogans as Black Power, originated by activist Stokely Carmichael. When I met him, he was Kwame Ture. Black is beautiful. They also sought to inculcate a sense of pride among Black people, particularly as the civil rights movement faced new challenges in the wake of the assassinations of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. So these are some pictures of the UNIA, and they would have these great conventions. So this was a headquarters building. Garvey. Here are the conventions of, the thousands of people. Their parades, the Black Cross nurses.
That's what scared J. Edgar.
Yeah.
Those crowds.
Yeah. All those people. Yeah. Oh, here's thanks, Keedy. Keedy put in death of Booker T. Washington. So that's read the hospital record. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. The Black Cross nurses. So you've heard of the Red Cross nurses, sisters that were nurses.
Yeah.
And here we have the consultants to Liberia. So he was actively seeking to return people back to Africa, and one of the places was Liberia. So these pictures here, these were UNIA consultants to Liberia, 1921. And this is a salute to the Women's Auxiliary of the UNIA. And these pictures are both, now I got these from an article in Great Black Leaders. And let me pause here. I want to share this other PowerPoint that I have. Let's see. So, Dr. Van Sertima did, hey, Isali, be careful out there. Don't Don't wave at us. Just keep going.
I'm at a red light right now. Hello.
Oh,
I'm in
sorry.
my hotel.
Oh, good job, Sanab. You be careful out there. All right. So I really like this book this is another book I highly recommend for you. And that is Great Black Leaders, Ancient and Modern. And it's part of Dr. Ivan Van Sertima's Journal of African Civilization. It has Ancient and Modern. It has Malcolm X. It has Queen T, Kwame Nkrumah, Frederick Douglass, Imhotep, Nelson Mandela, Queen Nzinga, Martin Luther King Jr. There's two great essays on Martin Luther King Jr., Toussaint Louverture, Shaka Zulu, Queen Hatshepsut, Ramses II, Marcus Garvey, and Hannibal, to name a few. And so that picture from the other PowerPoint, it came from this article by James Spady. So really, really great information. Even has like the birthplace of Marcus Garvey. A lot of great. So that picture came from here. Black Cross nurses past the government printing office. Anyway, just wanted to pause there. Are there any questions or comments as we continue? Anything that you would like to add in this discussion? Because as you can see, I don't know it all. All right, so.
Well, I was reflecting on Marcus Garvey, Dr. King, and Malcolm X, three of our most prominent leaders in the struggle for Black liberation, Black civil rights, is that they were always very neatly attired in the way that they presented themselves to the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And, and I think as we praise these people, we should seek to try to emulate, the finer qualities that they exemplified. And so, we should be concerned about how we present ourselves to the world, and all that really means is just being neatly attired. You don't have to be in expensive suits and what have you, but neatly attired is basically what I'm talking about. And that was always the case with Dr. King, Malcolm, and Marcus Garvey.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that Garvey didn't sag?
No, he did not. Neither did Dr. King or Malcolm. Even when they were casual, with open collars and stuff like that, it was always a nice shirt, slacks, and that kind of thing. No sagging.
No sagging. No sagging in the 20s. You know what? You're right. They always came across as. They always, when you saw pictures of them, it was like they were always putting their best foot forward.
That's right.
It's like he would pause and listen to that guy, or listen to that lady. Back then.
But we like to dress anyway.
That's true.
We love the dress. I mean, that's why we kept the people rich, because we like to dress. And we are always clean. I don't care what you say. Even when you look at the old pictures, regardless, we were clean.
Yeah. Look at these people. Look at these people. Just yeah. They're in uniform. Yeah. These people are
shirt and ties.
These people are just sitting around. Yeah. They got the ties of this sister, the women in the auxiliary of the UNIA. Yeah.
That's why I love the movie Harlem Nights, man. They dressed on that.
Oh
movie.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
really-
yeah. I I just I just hate it when they shot um well, they shot Jasmine Guy in the head, and then they shot Roberta Flack's toe off. I just didn't like that part. All
That
right.
wasn't Roberta Flack, but I
That wasn't
can't.
Roberta Flack.
That was Della Reese.
Della
I mean,
Reese.
that's right, Hillary. I was trying to think. Thank you, thank you. So Marcus Garvey, he has a lot of these quotes, and these are great quotes of people with a knowledge without a knowledge of their history, without a knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots.
Mhm.
And then something else that he had, the Negro World newspaper.
Yep.
Negro World newspaper. It was the newspaper of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. It was founded by Garvey and Amy Ashford Garvey. The newspaper was first published weekly in Harlem and distributed internationally to UNIA chapters in more than 40 countries.
Wow.
Can you imagine that in the 20s?
Yeah. Boy, that was quite a distribution.
Distributed
Weekly.
weekly at its peak, reached a circulation of 200,000. And these were the notable editors, of course, Marcus Garvey. I I don't know these other people. Perhaps one of you all do. And of course, Amy Jacques Garvey. And these are some pictures. You know what? When Malcolm's father was assassinated, it made the Negro world.
Ah, yeah. He was a Garveyite, wasn't he?
Yes, yes, he was. Yeah, that's why he was killed. One of the reasons. Yeah. Yeah, and here's Garvey again. It looks like he's going out. Look at the newspaper. You work hard for your money, why not make it work hard for you? You know, he was an enterprise guy. Patronize your own industries. Universal steam laundry, universal tailoring and dressmaking department, Universal Negro Improvement Association's publishing and printing house, Universal Negro Improvement Association's grocery, Universal Negro Improvement Association's restaurant.
Yep.
Look at this newspaper. I mean, really. Look at this.
That's right.
Blah, I've lost nothing in Africa. That's what people say. Okay, this was on my birthday, written on my birthday, 1928. And then the opposite, you know, showing the Europeans taking the resources out of Africa.
Yep.
You know, we're saying I've I'm I haven't lost anything in Africa. And then UNIA, the new Negro. Hey, here he is, Catabasi. He's dressed up.
Yeah, he's clean.
He's clean.
Yep, got a
You
nice
know,
break on his
he's in
hat.
yeah, it's like he's in the nation, you know?
Yeah, standing at the crossroads.
Yeah, yeah. Where'd I go? To nationhood, political death, race suicide, back to slavery, mental paralysis. Wow, economic distress. But he's looking towards nationhood.
Yep, sure is.
Yeah.
It looked like there's a splash of the sun, almost like a sun they were
Yeah,
rising up.
that's what it's showing. And it's showing us at the crossroads.
You can see why J. Edgar Hoover came up with some charges to put him in prison. That was a lot of organization going on back then.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And Hoover just seemed to be a racist and just seemed to have a hatred for black people.
He did. Some people say that he actually was black undercover, but just had a. Some people say that he had just a self-hatred. Yep. So a really innovative newspaper. You know, here's showing the ragamuffin. Very insightful. And these were people that worked on the paper here, the top. Now let's look at the Black Star Liner for a minute.
Marcus Garvey arrived in the U.S. in 1916 and after touring much of the country founded the New York chapter of the UNIA, the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. It had tremendous success, but there was also severe opposition. One of Garvey's major projects was the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation, through which people of African descent could acquire and man their own ships and gain the respect of the mercantile and commercial world. We have in the past been living on the mercies of others, he said, and have therefore suffered. We will continue to suffer if we do not take charge of our own affairs. For 1 year, he gave over his entire self to talking about the Black Star Line, trying to influence people to buy stock in the company. He didn't handle the money himself, but left that to the company's officers. Millions of people were attracted to the UNIA because of the shipping company. 3 months after the founding of the line, the first ship was bought and renamed the Frederick Douglass after the great African American. She was launched in New York Harbor in October 1919. Many thousands gathered to see the boat sail under its black captain. 2 other ships were acquired, Shadyside and Antonio Maceo. Garvey urged his followers to develop themselves into an industrial and commercial people. As they acquired wealth, he said, most of the wrongs inflicted on them would be adjusted. But Garvey's officers plundered the funds of the shipping company. When I started the Black Star Line, he said, I had the greatest confidence in every Negro. I gave everybody a chance, but nearly everyone I placed in a responsible position fleeced the line. If Jesus was the president of the Black Star Line, he could not have done better because the men had the disposition to.
That's, of course, sad to hear about the Black Star Line. And these were the stock. The Black Star Line went from 1919 to 1922. It was a shipping line incorporated by Marcus Garvey, the organizer of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and other members of the UNIA. The shipping line was created to facilitate the transportation of goods and eventually African Americans throughout the African global economy. It derived its name from the White Star Line, a line whose success Garvey felt he could duplicate. The Black Star Line became a key part of Garvey's contribution to the Back to Africa movement. It was mostly unsuccessful, partly due to infiltration by FBI agents. It was only one among many businesses which the UNIA originated, such as the Universal Printing House, Negroes Factories Corporation, the widely distributed and highly successful Negro World weekly newspaper. There's some pictures of the Black Star Line. Let's see. Now, before we go into Professor Robert Hill, wanted to pause here. Any questions, Minister Alicia? Like Hoover, like Uncle Tom. Yes, indeed. Any comments? Any questions? Yes, go ahead, Bill. Minister.
Just a note, we got a recent comment from our own dear sister in Ghana who was saying that she was having trouble shipping things back. Mama Darnisha said that she basically had to grease the palms of the Chinese to get her goods back through Ghanaian ports. I'm not quite certain the current state of shipping in Africa. I just asked one of the AI chatbots about the largest shipping firms in Africa. They commented about some shipping firms owned by the Swiss operating in Africa. I'm rephrasing the question, but I think still it's a huge thing to understand who controls the means for goods to get from A to B, to get in and out of Africa.
Yeah, we're talking about the high seas. That's right. Yeah. That's a good point. I wish I could answer that. Anybody want to tackle that? All right. No, I heard you. But yeah, Darnisha's actually, she just posted something. She's on her way back to the States. So we need to have her on, and that needs to be one of the questions that we asked her about the shipping. Definitely we want to ask her about shipping when she gets back. All right. I'm going to go on to Robert Hill. And he was really just really an Irie person. I met him at a Garvey program. This is one Katabasi that Anyika had done years ago, and it was at the East Oakland Youth Development Center.
Okay.
You might have been there that day. And anyway.
Trying to remember.
Here he is.
This is Duke University.
I was wondering whether Robert could begin to tell us about how this collection came about. Could you give us some sense of what is here at Duke and the trajectory also of your discovery?
Wow.
I know that's
thanks very much. It's an honor to be invited to have this conversation. The short answer to the question, what is here at Duke? The answer is everything. How did it come about? Well, if you keep working as I do every day, after a while, it adds up. When we began, I was just intent on recovering evidence of Marcus Garvey and the UNIA. The problem that we faced was that there was so few primary materials. There were some essays, maybe 2 books on Garvey, but nothing that would enable us to reconstruct the inner working of his movement or his life. The problem we have today is a superabundance of material. In other words, we went from a situation of paucity and dearth to one today of superfluity. I contend that all you have to do is look and the stuff will emerge.
Yeah. I was thinking hang on a minute, of the relevance of the Garvey collection for our present. It seems to me what's really fascinating is this chap, when I was growing up in the Caribbean, we we made fun of people from the rural areas. We call them country bookies. And certainly Garvey would be a country bookie. But how did, someone from the rural areas, a country bookie, just, propel, to such heights so that he transcends St. Anne, where he's born, I think.
Yeah.
He transcends Jamaica, and he moves to organize this massive movement, a global movement, really. How is that relevant? How is that kind of global, local sort of intersections, that massive movement? You mentioned the idea of the diaspora. In this instance, it's a moving kind of unit, so to speak, or made up of several members. How is that relevant for our contemporary moment?
Well, it's very relevant. We can quite easily strip away the mystery, the enigma of Garvey and his far-flung and far-reaching mass movement. The movement was built upon the far-reaching and far-flung Caribbean diaspora. And what happened is that once the movement was ignited here in North America in late 1918, West Indians or Caribbean people, wherever they were, heard the echo and they responded to it and formed in their locales, wherever they were, a local chapter or division. I was in the Jamaican archives in Spanish Town, and these archive, this portion of the archive was called, I'm not kidding you, quote, CSO, Secret and Confidential Papers. That translates to Secret and Confidential Papers of the Colonial Secretary's Office. And one of the early files I opened was entitled, quote, Sedition in St. Thomas Parish. Now, when you're in this business long enough, that word sedition is like, whoa, that's my kind of file. Once you see that word, black folks are doing some interesting things here. They're causing the colonialists to try to arrest them and jail them and disrupt and rupture their movement. It's the police record of the suppression of the early Rastafari movement, which began not in Kingston, it turns out, the capital, but out there in eastern St. Thomas. I was like, oh my gosh. So this is what the police had been sitting on. So then I became fascinated by what's in this record, and then I discovered there are a whole set of other records. Now here's my point. The Rastafari movement is a worldwide movement today, once again reflecting the movement of this far-flung Caribbean diaspora. I became so interested in this subject of the Rastafari that embedded in this larger corpus of papers is the largest archive of the original Rastafari movement.
Because I think I remember you saying that these members in the Caribbean were aligning themselves nationally, right? So someone from St. Kitts was different from someone from Jamaica, different from someone from Barbados.
Or Panama, yes.
Right. But that kind of, you referred to that as a sort of ethnic identity?
Yes.
Right, but then that kind of ethnic identity in the United States translates or becomes a kind of racial identity, right? Which allows, it seems to me, for a certain kind of solidarity. But I mean, how does that allow, for the sort of interlinkages? So ethnicity, racial, how does that work within that movement, within the UNIA?
What's the division of gender within the UNIA here in the United States? Going in we understood that the Garvey movement was made up to a large extent of West Indian migrants in the east of the US and African Americans. But when you have two large blocks of members, West Indian and African Americans, how does that break down into gendered terms? And what we found after doing a great deal of micro-analysis is that West Indian women played only a small part in the early years of the Garvey movement, and that the women who participated in the movement were largely African American women, and that the movement really was this interesting combination and coalition of West Indian men and African American women. That to me was like, oh my gosh, how do you explain that? What we discovered is that among the West Indian migrant community, the makeup of the family, which was still largely built on Victorian norms of Victorian culture, and those norms translated into the fact that women did not play a visible role in the public sphere. It was considered disreputable for a woman to be out on the street or agitating or marching or being in the public eye. You see, African American women, particularly from the post-Reconstruction period, had built this rich tradition of organizational life. Black women in America led and created numerous public organizations. So what you get is West Indian men meeting in the US with African American women.
I really like Robert Hill. He's really Irish. He's retired now, but he's really an Irish brother. And one of the things that he brought up is that, yeah, that's Garvey said, look to Africa where a black king will be crowned. And he was talking about Haile Selassie. And that started the Rastafari movement. You know, because Haile Selassie, before he was crowned, his title was Ras Teferi, and Jamaicans they pronounced it Tafari, and you know, the short they were called Rastas, and so anyway, I'm just at heart a Pan-Africanist. And I would suggest that we get Robert Hill's books. He has a small one, like so. This one here, these two, Marcus Garvey, Life and Lessons, and the Universal Negro Improvement Association. And this says volume 9, but there's like 10 volumes. It was called the Universal Negro and Improvement Association and African Communities League. That was the addition to the name. So coming up, I'm going to be out there at 6 o'clock in the morning, out where we had our anniversary at Estate Farms. On Saturday, we're having a Umoja Hour Sunrise Drum Circle at 6240 Excelsior at Estate Farms. And so I'll put these in the chat. Also, Mariana and Sister Akos are doing this fundraiser for students in Africa. You know, and Akos does trips to Africa, and so I'm going to put this flyer in the chat as well. All right, I think essentially, yeah. So this this Black Knowledge Matters has been livicated to the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey and those that worked with him, and may his name continue to live long in the memory of our people. Didn't get a chance to put it in, but Marcus Garvey inspired people like Kwame Ture, Jomo Kenyatta, Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, all the future leaders of Africa, Nelson Mandela, etc. All right. Okay, are there any anything that we should be, anything else we should be thinking about, talking about, or doing something about? You guys are so quiet.
I would like to just make a couple of input points.
Please.
Number one, the modern day version of the Black Star Line is the development of an African continental standard gauge railway network. This is being built across the continent. Much of it having been built up in the East African region, the East African community. And as well, it is a perfect complement and really perhaps the greatest feeder agent for the African continental free trade area, which is the largest free trade area in the world. It is on the African continent. Unfortunately, as it stands today, you can find very little, if any, footprint of African Americans taking a part of the African continental free trade area and or the financing, construction, and engineering of the standard gauge railway network. There has been a proposal from the Biden administration to invest $5.1 billion to build a SGR connection from Luanda on the west coast in Angola, the capital of Angola, through to Zambia.
Really?
And that $5.1 billion program, which was actually carried over there by the woman candidate for the presidency, she wasn't very much welcomed on her trip. She visited 3 African countries, but when she was carrying $5.1 billion to Angola, they probably gave her the best reception. But that money has not yet been spent. The project has not yet been implemented. And with the right type of plan, there's no reason in the world why Africans in America should miss out on an opportunity like that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is an SGR standard gauge railway from Luanda through to Maputo, the capital of Zambia. I would highly encourage each one of us to take a look at that. It is a golden opportunity. Of that $5.1 billion, quite likely, if it develops like other developmental plans, the bulk of that money will be spent in this country.
What's the name? What's the name of that again, Kitty?
It's called a standard gauge railway, and it's supposed to run between Luanda, the capital of Angola, and Maputo, the capital of Zambia. And the sole purpose of the railway, it's not the only purpose, but the main purpose for the railway is to carry out the natural resources of Zambia to the West Coast to be put on ships to be sent to the United States. Let's be real clear. These standard gauge railways are really about international commerce. Ethiopia has just completed one between its capital, Addis Ababa, and Djibouti. The sole purpose of to give Ethiopia a transportation to the Red Sea, to where it will now have access to shipping across the African Ocean, commonly referred to as the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, they're landlocked.
Well, it's not that India's, Ethiopia's landlocked. Through their deal with Djibouti, now they will have access to the Red Sea. And they're also, it is expected, and I just recently reported again on it, that Ethiopia and Djibouti will be welcomed into the East African community in the 25 and/or 26. And in 2027, they will be part of a 10-part nation to inaugurate the East African Federation, Africa's first superpower state. I'm putting my money on the line on that. That is going to happen. I've been documenting it for years now. It is happening in real time.
Yeah.
So we have a question in here. She's someone wrote called Emancipation what? Somebody that's you know, they have to they're traveling, but they're still listening to us. Did you just say that, Kitty?
I don't think I mentioned anything about emancipation. If I did, I should have been listening to myself.
Okay. Isali, do you want to, are you able to ask your question?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Maybe it wasn't, I'm pretty sure it wasn't that then. It was, you called it the, something that the Marcus Garvey, the name, you were given a name for something. And I just wanted to look it up myself.
Are you talking to me or Keith?
It was Brother Keith. Keaty.
Please repeat the question. I'm sorry.
You were given a name for something, the connection to Marcus Garvey, transportation, something.
Well,
I just wanted to look it up myself.
The modern day equivalent to the Black Star Line is the set of transportation corridors being built across the African continent. At this particular time, these are called SGRs, and they're part of a larger transportation corridors. SGR stands for Standard Gauge Railways. If we can recall, for over 100 years, Africa's railway system was built upon colonial rail systems. And unfortunately, the different rail lines had different widths. So if you were transporting goods from, say, Uganda to Tanzania, you might have to stop at the Uganda-Kenya border, unload your goods and put them on another train, traverse Kenya, and then have to unload them and put them on another train because the railway systems from the different regions didn't align up. So now they're standard gauge railways. They're being built across the continent. So that is the modern day equivalent of the Black Star Line. And it ties into the African Continental Free Trade Area.
All right. You know, Minister.
Thank you.
Great
Thank
question.
you for your question. Yeah, very great question. Minister Bill has put some other things in the chat. Let's look at them before we go. So he has here East African Railway Master Plan, Railways Transport in East Africa. So you can go on this link and find further information on it.
Also, and I'm proud to say also, Baba, I just did an extensive report on it on my broadcast, and I took several days, but I think I may have created the most extensive map of all of the completed and proposed SGRs that's available. I had a few people complimented me. They said they had never seen a map of these SGRs so extensive. It was a lot of work.
Is it possible for you to show it now, Kitty?
Can you give me permission? I'll pull that
Yeah,
up.
yeah, you could share. Yeah.
Okay, give me a second. Let me get into the file.
Mhm.
And I hope we have sparked interest that more of us will be taking a look at what is happening in the East African community. It is really quite exciting. I've got a few images I have in this folder. I'm going to share screen right now. And you let me know when you can see what it is that I'm sharing. Okay, can you see?
Yeah.
Okay, this first map is the offshore areas around the continent. And I've also superimposed the boundaries of the 2027 East African Federation. So as we look at these areas, these are called exclusive economic zones. For 200 miles off of a nation's borders, that's their exclusive right to explore their waters. And you're not supposed to mine or fish in their waters without permission of the country. If we look off of East Africa, the longest coastline on the African continent is Somalia. And for decades, Somalia's coastal waters have been ruthlessly exploited without their permission. And when the Somali people, the fishermen, go out there and try and disrupt this exploitation of their fishing waters, they're called pirates. And many of us celebrate them being blown out of the water.
General Adid.
By these encroachers. I've got a few more of these images I've put together. It's a whole folder. And here are the countries of the East African Federation. And well, actually, yeah, this is focusing on East African countries. I use this map to build some of my other maps on this. We talk about the pending East African Federation. Presently, the community consists of Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, Congo, and Somalia. It's anticipated Ethiopia and Djibouti will join soon. The current population, this is so very important. Based upon current population growth rates, the combined population of an East African Community Federation, including these 10 countries, including Ethiopia and Djibouti, can be forecasted as current population today. The population of the EAC is approximately 498 million. The US at third in the world is 341 million. This is forecast to grow to 530 million by 2027, the anticipated year that the Federation will emerge as the third most populous nation after India and China. With this strong demographic base and these nations' wealth of natural resources, Africans will be able to yield true superpower status.
Wow. Sounds encouraging.
It is encouraging. A lot of these images, I've been building this up, and this is just a little portion of what I put together in this folder. It's rather extensive, and I know I've done at least 10 radio broadcasts on the emergence of Africa's first superpower state. And I hope that some of you have been hearing about this for some time. It's kind of hard for me to gauge.
Only through you, man.
Isolated.
Only through you. You know,
how many of us would like to live in an African superpower state? I grew up in a superpower. I know I sure would, which is why I'm planning to be there, to be a citizen on the day it's inaugurated.
I'd like to visit it. I know that much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Good work, Edie.
Asante Sana, Ndugu Kitty.
Yeah, I'll put a link up to the latest broadcast. I'll put that link up in the chat.
Please do that. Yeah. One more thing I'd like to share. I think this is something that Bill put up. Was it this one? Oh, you know, we got off on a topic about Booker T. Washington and Africa, the making of a Pan-African. We don't usually think of Booker T. Washington as a Pan-Africanist. And this is really some good information. So he was actively talking about the atrocities taking place in the Congo. He had become vice president of the Friends of Congo, in addition to lobbying the White House on issues related to the Congo. And then here he is talking about the Liberian crisis. So there's a lot more. The completion of the Panama Canal provoked legislation that would exclude all African or Black persons from the U.S. This is what Trump is trying to do now. So great information. I just put this in. So save your chat because Bill has put this in for us. He also put this in, problem-based learning. You know, we were talking about that earlier. All right. Want to thank you all for helping me celebrate, and we're still celebrating the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. We love him. Go ahead, Asali. You made it home. All right.
I'm sorry. Is it okay if I share an event coming up?
Go ahead. Yes, please.
Oh, okay. My husband and I, Jabari, and I will be doing a workshop. Healthy Life is in Style. We'll be doing holistic health workshops on September 7th, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. I'll see if I can put the flyer in the chat. So it'll be on holistic health, building healthy habits, healthy relationships, and some comedic Reiki self-healing tools at the end. And I'll share that in the chat. And then I do have a date for Rose, where I'll be doing the comedic Reiki group session, self-healing session. So that one is October 5th, Saturday, October 5th. But we'll be getting that together and stuff in the flyer and everything for that soon.
And once again.
Sorry?
Go ahead, Kitty. We missed you. You're muted. You went mute. You went on mute.
Yeah, my bad. I was actually loading up these broadcasts and putting them in the chat.
Okay.
And it actually
okay.
audio.
All right.
Okay. Let me, and then I'll add the photo really quick here. Let me see. Can I share photos? And oops, I think I shared it wrong. I was supposed to put in the chat, right? Let me see.
Yes. You know what? I saved that. And I was going to put that. I'm glad you reminded. So that's on the 7th.
Yes, September 7th.
Let's see. What did I do? Yeah, put it in the chat. I don't.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just put it in the chat.
Okay, great.
And we'll have a registration link out soon.
If you have a web link to that, that might be even better. The files and images in the chat won't get saved when you click Save Chat, only the text and links.
Well, I don't have a web link. But yeah, I mean, I have a website.
Okay, everyone who wants it should copy it now then. Download it now, because if you just save chat, it won't save. But you can click on it and download it right now.
Here it is. Here it is, everyone. I think I was able to do it. So is this it? Let's see. It went in this way. Can you access it? I saved it, but that's the way it went in. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think I just clicked on yours and accessed it.
Okay, all right.
So make sure you save it, y'all. Do that extra step to save. Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you. Oh, and thanks, Katie. I just got an email from you. All right, great. All right, One love, one heart, one God, one aim. Should we do another one next week? What do you guys think? Alicia, all right, all right. It's got his thumb. Okay, I got a lot of thumbs up here. So, hey, my son's home. He came home tonight. We're gonna go see Wolverine and Deadpool tomorrow.
Oh, get ready. It's it's all over the place. We saw that last week.
Was it good? Was it good?
Um, we read all of the reviews afterwards. We go on YouTube to look at reviews, and everybody seemed to like it. It's kind of a spoof. It's funny, and every character shows up, so
All right, all right.
it's enjoyable. Yeah.
What's the name of that?
Oh, it's one of those Marvel movies. It's
Oh, okay.
it's Wolverine and Deadpool, and I used to take them when they were little guys.
Okay.
Oh, how cool.
So they so Kaba's he's treating me. It's Kaba, so he's treating me to a movie tomorrow.
Are you going to see it in 3D? I love to see Marvel movies in 3D.
You know what? We're going whatever that the theater is at the Delta Shores. I don't know if it's 3D or not, but yeah. Anyway,
Wow.
Bad Boys was good too.
Say again.
The Bad Boys movie is good too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, you all are some of my favorite people, so I don't want to end it, but I guess we'll have to stop. I'm so glad we had this time again. All right. So, all right. Okay. Hey, great contributions. You all always do that. We had some great input today. Good information. Let's keep the memory, the thoughts, the ideas, the opinions, the philosophies of Garvey. Because it's still going on today, and he inspired a lot of us. He inspired Wose. I'll just go out and say that because a lot of people that are involved in Wose they were inspired by the Honorable Marcus Garvey, either directly or indirect. Go ahead, Brother Damani. Go ahead. You're muted. You're muted. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just one quick comment. I think one of these Black Knowledge Matter, we had to study military science also. Marcus Garvey, the UNIA, and the Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam, all of them use military science in their formation and in the formation of their organizations.
I agree. I agree. There's a book written by Joe. It's called Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a good book that we need to return to.
Right.
Go ahead, Sister Judy.
Yes, I was just going to say I did have to join late, but I wanted to add, in case no one mentioned it, Dr. Tyreen Wright. She's a graduate of Tuskegee, and she's a political science, Black Studies professor now at one of the colleges in New York. But she wrote a book, The Making of Booker T. Washington, The Making of a Pan-Africanist. That book is really, really awesome. And within that book, there are several letters between Marcus Garvey and Booker T. Washington. They were friends, and he was, kind of a teacher and mentor to Marcus Garvey, which I'm sure you may have mentioned, but I was going to say you can see some of the letters.
Judy, can you see this screen? Bill had put this in the chat.
You must be a psychic.
and no, Minister Bill was ahead of both of us, and he put this in because the subject of Booker T. Washington came up, because that's why Garvey was coming to the United States to meet with Booker T. Washington.
And he did actually finally make it. Booker T. Washington died before he arrived to
Yep.
Tuskegee, but he did actually make it to Tuskegee and step foot on the ground, sacred grounds.
Yep. Yep. All
That
right.
was my quick question, Brother Damani. Did you ever do your presentation? I think at one point I suggested and some others that you might do a Black Knowledge Matters if you talk to Minister Imhotep.
No, I won't let him speak, and he did not. No, we're working on getting together on one of his proposals that I think it would be good for our Black Knowledge Matters. So soon come. All right. Well, without any further ado, we're bringing this session to a close. You all take care of yourself, guidance and protection along the way. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Life, prosperity, and health. Live up.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Thanks,
Good night.
everyone.
Peace and blessings from Atlanta.
Peace and blessings.
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 Night now.
Bye.